President Lee Carter. Okay, Lee, so again, a lot of early voting, a lot of mail-in voting, polls, as we'll say, tight as a tick. Dagan said that yesterday, so I'm going to take that from her. How do you assess what's happening here? Or how are you reading this race? What are you looking for in the polls to get some indication on who's breaking ahead, who's falling behind?
Well, I think the polls are suggesting right now momentum is with Donald Trump. So one of the things that I always look at is where is the energy moving and shifting from. Donald Trump's numbers have remained remarkably steady for the last year and 4 months. He is between 48 and 50% of the electorate almost consistently. It's the Democrats that have gone up and down. Kamala's support has actually decreased significantly since the convention. And she had a very, very strong launch. And I think she ended up, instead of launching what she had as a very positive campaign, trying to reset the Biden narrative, she ended up going back to the threat to democracy and darkness. And it did not work for her. Her polling numbers remained stagnant while Donald Trump's numbers surged. And you see state by state, there were states that were looking at Wisconsin. We never thought that Trump was going to go ahead. And yet on the polling averages on Real Clear Politics, he is now ahead even there. And so when you look at this and you look at how he performed in 2016 and 2020, you have to say the momentum is with Donald Trump. The only thing I cannot answer, there's actually 3 questions I can't answer, is one, what is the impact of the MSG rally's coverage? I'm not going to say the rally itself, but the coverage for 48 hours was basically saying that that was a Nazi rally, you know, and negative, and really covered that comedian, and really that's all they talked about for 48 hours. Is that going to have an impact? Number 2, is Kamala's address last night going to have any impact? Because it was a reset for her campaign where she was able to say, this is my case. Is anybody going to hear it 7 days out when you have that many people that have already voted? And number 3, I just want to know if people are still not sure. Are they silently supporting somebody, or are they just really saying, I don't know what to do. This is so hard. I don't really like either of them, but I have reasons for both. And that's why it's hard to tell. But I think right now, everything looks really good for Donald Trump, but nobody can be confident. It is too close to tell.
I have so many questions for you, but since you mentioned the Madison Square Garden rally, you have a comedian that used Puerto Rico as a punchline in a joke, and an asymmetrical surge in outrage from the left-wing regime media, the nomenclatura is what I'd call them, the apparatchiks in the Democrat Party. And then you have the commander-in-chief use the same word about at least half of the nation. How does that from Joe Biden have a bigger impact on Kamala Harris's campaign?
Well, I think that the big issue with both of these comments is that neither one of them is the candidate that made the comments. Now, I think that Joe Biden's comments last night have a far bigger impact than the comedian did, because Joe Biden said it at the same time that Kamala was making her closing argument. So the news cycle today, instead of focusing on Kamala's closing argument, is now focused on the fact that Joe Biden called half of Americans garbage. You've got Republicans and Trump supporters proudly talking about their Halloween costumes, which are now going to be garbage cans. We've seen, all kinds of crazy memes today. There's sort of pride in it and sort of fun with it. There's all kinds of outrage about it. It is the centerpiece of conversation. And the question is this the basket full of deplorables moment of 2024? And I think it very well might be. It's energizing Republicans who are saying, you know what? You're right. I'm garbage. I'm not one of you elites. I'll embrace this. I love this. In fact, this is who I am, and I'm going to question you. I'm fighting authority, and I'm done with this. Stop judging me. And I actually think this could be the breakout moment.
It could be a motivator for people to actually go vote when they maybe weren't thinking about actually going. But I want to ask you this, because for the last 6-8 months, we've had you on. We've talked about polls with you. We've talked about the economy as the #1 issue. We talked about the border. And in these conversations, you always come to, but you have to think about the abortion issue. You always come back to it as a motivator for the female vote. Well, there's now 10 states that have abortion on the ballot. How does the abortion issue in these states play in driving votes to Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
Look, I think it's a significant issue, and I know it's not one that is it's difficult to talk about with Republicans who are pro-life. They don't necessarily understand it, but 7 in 10 independent women say this is the issue that's going to drive them the polls, because many of them don't like either candidate, and they're saying the thing that I have to do is protect reproductive freedom and women's rights. And for them, it's not just about abortion. It's much bigger. It's about how we view women. And in those states, I think it's a big issue. But those states don't necessarily overlap with the electoral map where we need we need to win. So I think we're going to have a little bit of an issue and a disconnect here. I'm not sure that it's going to impact the overall election as much as we once thought, but I do think it's going to have an impact. And this is a game of inches. We're talking about fractions of a percent in each state. So it could actually have a big impact. So I think we have to be careful about it, but I'm not sure it's as big as I once thought it was.
Of those 10 states that we were just showing on the map, the only ones considered, and Florida's not a swing state, but the only ones that are kind of central to this election would be Florida, Arizona, and Nevada, where these ballot measures are up for grabs next month. Really quickly, the polling, is it wrong?
I don't know if the polling is wrong as much people are having a hard time admitting the truth about what they're going to do. There was a poll, and I'm going to quote a poll to talk about the polling. There was a poll that suggests that 28% of people have lied to a close family member about who they're going to vote for. And you can't help but wonder if you're going to lie to a close family member, if you're going to tell somebody on a poll what you're going to do, or if that means in your heart of hearts you're really wrestling with what you're going to do and you don't know until that moment that you're in the booth what exactly you're going to do. So I'm not sure the polls are wrong as much as there's so many people on there who are saying this is really one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. As much as there's enthusiasm on both sides, there are people who are really, really torn.
I'm curious to see how many male voters come out. Could be a new swamp here, the toxin masculinity issue. Lee Carter, always good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Trump in the Quinnipiac poll is up with men in Pennsylvania remarkably from the October poll by 5 percentage points. Boom.
All right, Lee.